What's going on? You're in the Beat Sessions. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Let's talk about Chez Kane and her new album, Powerzone. She released that on October 21st. This is her second solo outing and her follow up to her 2021 self titled debut. And I love this woman. Very happy to have discovered her. Wasn't familiar with her debut or her work with Kane until a few months ago. Was having a conversation with some friends. We were talking about the women of rock and roll in the late 70s and through the 80s. And I had mentioned that I love 80s heart. We were talking about the evolution of that band, and some people don't agree using that word for it, but I love the sound that they were working with in the 80s, that power rock sound, lots of pop flair. It works my soul. It hits me. And so someone in that conversation, one of my friends, was like, "Hey, have you listened to Chez Kane? She definitely is working with some of that in her sound." And having a music channel these days and missing something like that, it's pretty easy for people to poke you. But this friend of mine was like, "You got to check her out." And so was really thrilled to listen to her debut. I haven't gone back and listened to Kane yet, but I love Powerzone. I'm really excited to talk about this new record. Teaming up with Danny Rexon on both of these projects, and he approached her. This is his vision and her execution, and it's just outstanding. I love that flair that they're working with, paying homage to all sorts of different female artists from the 80s. Not just Pat Benatar and not just Hart, but think of Joan Jett a little bit. Think of Chrissy Hynde from the Pretenders. Think of Patti Smith. Think of all these amazing women that were rocking out. And what I love about Chez here is, there's definitely some new stuff, a few moments, some nuances where she's adding some flair of her own. But for the most part, it just feels like her and Danny are paying homage to a sound that, in my opinion, is so excellent. I love it. And I understand that it's not everybody's cup of tea, to each their own. But I dig that sound. I dig that big power rock. It's almost kind of like every song is a ballad to a certain degree. But on this particular record, there's just a lot of great rock and roll energy. And most of it, honestly, I would say is more in line with it's like a great combination of Pat Benatar and Joan Jett with a lot of that other stuff mixed in. But think of artists too like Def Leppard, Toto, Cheap Trick. It's a pretty cool sound that they're working with, that they're paying homage to, and I think they're executing it incredibly well. This thing, it kicks off with "I Just Want You." I love the big synths, the drums, the guitars to open up. Got this really just funky pop in the bass riff on this song that I really enjoyed. And this is a track that 80s heart. I really felt that in the opener, and it's a great way to open this thing off, in my opinion. The Things We Do is your second track. Love the riff to open. There's an element of restraint in the production on this thing, and I love that about this song. And there's a couple other moments like that as well. I think I really like the production on this record. I think it's outstanding. And we're going to talk about the vinyl package here in a second, but this particular song, The Things We Do, reminded me of Pat Benatar. It's just a great blend of rock and roll and pop. Rock You Up is your third track. Big drums, vocal to open. Got that Def Leppard sound. I really like the feel of this track. A little heavier than the first two songs. You get a shift towards more of that pop feel towards the end of the track. Is kind of an interesting dynamic in that song. Love Gone Wild. This is probably going to be my favorite song on the album. I really like this track. This is just a great hard rock and feel on this song. I love the horns that get worked in. You talk about some of those interesting nuances that she's adding, giving her own flair, and I dig the feel of this song. And honestly, it reminds me of Pat Benatar meets Chicago. There's this great saxophone solo in the song. It's really freaking cool. Children of Tomorrow Gone is your fifth song. It's got this evocative piano to open up, textured synths, drums come in. It's got that kind of like 80s inspirational thing working with it, but I love the big bright vocal melody. There's some bagpipes to finish on this track coming out of nowhere. It's a pretty cool element of the song. Powerzone, your title track, is your sixth song. That's I really like where this one is taking us with the driving percussion. I love the loose instrumentation that comes together, and especially as we close in on the chorus. The chorus is it comes together nicely. It's bright, but it rocks. There's a great guitar solo on this song. A really nice track to make for the title track. I'm Ready for Your Love is the seventh song, guitar driven intro, good hard rock and feel on this song, feeling Joan Jett. And it's almost kind of like a shift into more of that Pat Benatar style in the chorus on this song, a little more of that pop feel that she has going on. Nationwide is your eighth track. This was a moment where I was like, I wasn't thrilled about the hook. It's not a bad song, but it wasn't my favorite. But since to open up, they give way to guitars. It the feeling of this track, it felt a little bit like kind of like Kiss meets, Steve Winwood a little bit, like what he was doing in the 80s. And it's a good track, but not my favorite. I'd say it's probably my least favorite of all of the songs. A lot of good songs on this record. Streets of Gold, your ninth song, out of comes out of this like really nice acoustic feel. It's a bit of rock and roll balladry. It's probably the only like technically, I would say, like ballad driven track on the record, but solid melodies. It's a great penultimate track, leads into Guilty of Love. Hard rocking guitars to open this thing up. You get a little bit of tiny synth lick that kicks in there, but this is a big track. It's massive. It's like over 8 minutes long to close this thing out. And what I want to get into is, as much as I love the production of this record, it sounds great. I think it's phenomenal. This is a record it's made to sound like an 80s album, and you can tell that it's written by a 90s kid. It's 50 minutes long, 10 songs. There's also elements of the production where I'm like, man, you could trim some of the fat on this thing and it could have gone on one disc. It's a 2-disc collection. It's $40. It's kind of pricey for 10 songs. And the big thing with me is like the continuity of a record. When you throw it on, I mean, I don't mind having to change a double LP. I don't mind having to flip 2 records. But I will say that when it's unnecessary, it's, it kind of bums me out. And on this particular record, I want to know if any of you have spent the $40. Is it worth it? Because I imagine that, with basically only like 2 or 3 tracks on each side of the record, they probably sound phenomenal. Like the quality of the music on the vinyl is probably just outstanding. But when you see that you can buy the CD for $13 or just stream it for free when you have a service, like I spend a lot of money on records, and $40 for one record is a lot of money. And I'm having to pass on this right now, guys. Like, as much as I love this record and as much as I want to pull the trigger on it, it's expensive. So please, if you've listened to this thing on vinyl, let me know. Let me know if it's worth the $40. Let me know if the audio quality is just so outstanding that every song is worth $4, then I'll bite the bullet on this. I have no problem doing that. But, if you guys aren't familiar with my process, I like to stream the record first. If I'm into it, then that second listen, I'll go to the record store, I'll buy the wax and give that spin to make sure that, that package sounds all right. But I can't do it. I cannot justify it right now. I'm trying to buy the building around me right now. I'm trying to close on this house to move this channel forward and create some better studio space. So I'm really excited to do that here in the coming weeks. And I do apologize if I've seemed kind of absent on the channel the last few weeks as well. Been very busy with that process. But yeah, money's a little tight, and I can't do it. But if you guys want to tell me in the comments below that this is worth it, I'll go to the record store. I'll make this happen. But in the meantime, definitely stream this thing. Definitely check out this record because it's a ton of fun. I'm really enjoying the work that these two are putting together. Chez and Danny, they're phenomenal as an outfit. It'll be interesting to see too if she continues to make solo work, if she teams up with him or if she goes in a different direction, does her own thing, or works with another producer. We shall see what happens. But in the meantime, enjoy this record. Hope you find this review helpful. Please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel. Do all the things to help Keith, MB, and I blow this thing up in 2022. And stay tuned throughout the week for more album reviews. We'll see you next time on the Beat Sessions.